So, welcome to Digital Communication Theory. So, today I am going to discuss detection and estimation once again. The fourth module it will be repeated. So, as per syllabus, it is a second module. So, last before that class, I have explained that what is detection and estimations. So, detection circuitry will be used at the receiver to detect the information signal which one it is been transmitted. Along with that the noise it will be added to your information signals. So at the receiver side, at the receiver input, it is going to the receiver, it is going to detect both the information signal which one you are going to transmit, your transmitted, and along with that noise. So the main function of the detector is to detect the signal which is being transmitted and separate out the noise component from the signal component. And you need to feed threshold voltage also. So you need to compare with VTH voltage to get the observation vector or the test statistics. So estimation is nothing but estimation. It is a branch of statistics that deals with estimating the values of parameters based on measured empirical data that has a random component. An estimator attempts to approximate the unknown parameters using measurements. So estimation can be used to determine the position of asteroids, and in telecommunication also we can use this estimator to estimate the original symbol which is been transmitted. When the signal is transmitted over a channel, it is corrupted due to the various noise which is present in the communication channel. Then receiver, it is going to observe the received signal and determines about which symbol was transmitted. This decision it is taken with the help of some set of rules. We call it as detection of the signal. So here we need to uh, feed, we need to compare with the threshold voltage as we have discussed in the digital modulation techniques. So by comparing with that threshold voltage, we are going to tell whether which symbol to be received. The detection of the signal will be done using, we can use correlators. Correlator is nothing but it consists of one multiplier and a low pass filter, and it consists of a match filter. Match filter, it has a filter with some impulse which has an impulse response. So when it matches with that particular orthonormal basis functions, so that signal will be received. Then and optimum filter. So optimum matched and correlators can be used to detect the signal, and estimation can be done by using adaptive filters, VNF filters, and linear prediction. So this is the model of digital communication systems. We have already discussed this one. So input message signal. So it has MI number, where I it stands for from 1 to M. So we have m number of messages, and the probability of each message are equally likely. Means if there are 10 message symbols are there, then the probability of that is 1 by 10. So here mi is nothing but it varies from I is equal to 1 to m. So total m number of messages which will be given as input your vector transmitter. So transmitter, it consists of vector transmitter and a modulator. So vector transmitter, what it does, it clubs mi number of messages into SI1, SI2 up to SIN. The vector transmitter clubs n number of messages so that they can be transmitted together. Thus, we can represent this one as SI1, SI2, and SIN, where I it varies from 1 to M, and J it varies from 1 to N. Here you need to remember always N is, it may be less than or equal to M, but N cannot be greater than M. And the probability of each messages which is equal to 1 by M for M number of messages. So the modulator, what it does, it generates SI of t with the modulated signal. We call this SI of t as a modulated signal. So which is equal to the combination or summation of SI1 into pi 1 of t plus SI2 into pi 2 of t plus up to SIN into pi n of t. When this signal which is being generated using a modulator, when it is transmitted through a communication channel, the noise, it will be additive white Gaussian noise, it will be added to the signal. At the receiver input, we will get both transmitted signal which is SIFT plus noise component. We can denote it as W of t. So you can see here. So this is the energy of the signal which is generated at the transmitter. So which can be represented as SI of t. So energy of the signal, we can SI of t, we can represent it as EI is equal to 0 to t SI square of t into dt, where I, it varies from 1 to m. When it is transmitted over a noisy channel, the received signal, so we can represent x of t. X of t is the received random process, so which is equal to SI of t, which is transmitted signal. SI of t is the transmitted signal plus W of t is the noise component. So small letter x of t is nothing but the particular sample function of x of t. We call it as the received signal, a small letter x of t. Then the detector, what it does, it processes the signal x of t and produces the observation vector x. So the detector function is to process the received signal x of t and to get the observation vector x. So how to get the observation vector? So and all we have studied in digital modulation techniques. So the same concept, it is applicable here also. So we will get some observation vector or test statistics. So that can be denoted as x. Then the vector receiver uses the prior knowledge of SI and prior probabilities and observation vector x to estimate m cap of the transmitted message. The transmitted message is mi. When this m cap is not equal to mi, so it results in error. When the estimated output which is m cap, if it is equal to mi, then a proper message which is being transmitted you have received. So next, geometric representation of signal. So here if you consider a two-dimensional signal space diagram of ASK signal, let's check whether stop. Okay. So you can consider the one-dimensional signal space diagram of ASK, so which has two message points. So message point 1 is root EB and message point 2 we can denote it as a 0. The midpoint between these two we will represent it as root EB by 2, because here 0 to root EB means the midpoint between these two, it becomes root EB, you have to divide it by 2. As the distance between the two message points increases, the error decreases. As the distance between these two message points decreases, the error increases. So from the signal space diagram, so we can study the probability of error in transmission and the separation between two message points, between the individual message points, we can say. Then the signal vector or signal space or vector space representation is the characteristic of every digital modulation techniques. Let there be m number of signal energy signals which form the input signal set. This is the generated signal at the transmitter. We call it as modulated signal, which the combination of S1 of t, S2 of t up to Sm of t, where I, it is very from 1 to m. So all should be linearly independent. Last class I discussed one problem. So there we were considering 2, 3, 4 signals, right? All 4 signals should be linearly independent, then only you can apply Gram-Smith orthogonalization procedure. If any signal is depending on any other signals, then we cannot able to apply Gram-Smith orthogonalization procedure to find out the orthonormal basis functions. So let these signals can be represented in terms of n number of orthonormal basis functions. So for m number of set of signals, so there will be n number of orthonormal basis functions will be there. So we can represent as pi j of t, where j it varies from 1 to n. So we can write this one as pi 1 of t, comma pi 2 of t up to pi n of t. Next, then the linear relationship between Si of t and pi j of t, we can write it as, so Si of t is nothing but, how you can write, so you can consider this diagram. So here Si of t, which is equal to Si1 into pi 1 of t plus Si2 into pi 2 of t up to Sin into pi n of t. Same thing I have written here. So here you can observe Si of t, the same equation with the diagram I have written. So further we can write this equation as summation, where j is varying from 1 to n, and here I is made constant. So we can write j is equal to 1 to n Sij pi j of t, we can denote it as equation number 1. So here Sij is nothing but, it is a coefficients of expansion. Suppose I is equal to 1 and j is equal to 2, we can write this equation as, for S12, this is equal to 0 to t S1 of t, and j here 2, here j is 2, so pi 2 of t dt, where t is nothing but duration of symbol Si of t. Next, since the basis functions are orthonormal, they satisfy the following properties. So here 0 to t pi a of t pi j of t dt. So this equation we have discussed, when I is equal to j, we will get unity. When uh, I is not equal to j, then it is equal to 0. When pi a of t and pi j of t are perpendicular to each other, so you will get 0. So when I is equal to j, so we can write, so this gives unity. When it is perpendicular to each other, you will get 0. Next, let us consider the vector space representation of m is equal to 3. So here the number of message symbols are 3, with n is equal to 2 orthonormal. N 2 means we can consider pi 1 of t and pi 2 of t. So it has 2 orthonormal basis functions. So hence we can write the transmitted signal or modulated signal as Si of t, which is equal to j is equal to 1 to 2 Sij of t pi j, where I is vary from 1 to up to 3. Up to 3. So you substitute I value 1, 2, 3, because m is equal to 3 message symbols. So I is 1, 2 and 3. So m is equal to 3 here. Next, n is equal to 2 means j means here two orthonormal basis function is pi 1 of t and pi 2 of t, that's all. So further you can substitute here. First you substitute j, you will get this equation Si1 of t pi 1 of t and Si2 of t pi 2 of t. Next, I you substitute 1, 2 and 3. You will get 3 set of signals. So these 3 set of signals, you can represent it like this. If you get the values of S11 of t, S12 of t, S21, S22 of t, the position of each a signal point, it depends on S11 of t, S12, S21, S22 and S31 and S32. Next, we'll discuss about absolute value or norm of a vector. So all of you understood this? Understood this model of digital communication system at least now?
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, in that I indicates message signals, right? Number of message signals. Then
Yes,
what
yes.
about J, sir?
That orthonormal basis functions. Orthonormal basis functions, it varies from j is equal to 1 to n. The
Okay.
message points I is equal to 1 to n. But the number of message points, at least it should be equal to the number of orthonormal basis functions.
Okay.
If you are getting 3 points, so I told you one example here, you can see one example, this one, right? Here I we are varying from 1 to 3. So we are getting 3 signal points. And j, it is varying from 1 to. So here two orthonormal basis functions. So with these constraints, we can write three equations. Understood?
Yes, sir.
And the new function g2 we wrote, no, g2 of t and g3 of t. You remember g2 and g3 of t?
Ah, sir.
That g2 of t is nothing but that is the new function which is nearer to s2 of t when compared to other s1 and s3 of t. Like that it is. And g3 of t is nothing but that is the new function which is nearer to s3 of t than s1 and s2 of t. But g1 of t which is equal to s1 of t, that is why we will write g1 of t is equal to s1 of t. So when you are going to find out the equation for orthonormal basis function phi1 of t using Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure, right? Next, have you understood this absolute value or norm of a vector? So you can consider the vector Si, so which can be completely represented by its coefficients. So Si 1 to Sin, where I is varying from 1 to up to m message uh, symbols. So the product Si square, we call it as a squared length of the vector. Then the squared length of the vector, we can represent this one as Si transpose into Si. So transpose of Si we can write into the column vector can be written in terms of row vectors. So Si1, Si2 up to Sin, and the Si same thing you write, and do the multiplication of row element with the column element, and you sum it. So further we can write this equation of j is equal to 1 to n Sij whole square. So where I is varying from 1 to m. So here Si is called absolute value or norm of a vector, and Si square we call it as squared length of the vector. Next, the Euclidean distance between the two message points. So first, here you consider this diagram. Here we have two message points. One is A comma B. This is A comma B in the second quadrant, and in the fourth quadrant we have x comma y. Then the distance between two message points, so we can calculate by calculating the Euclidean distance between the two signal vectors. So here distance between these 2 points, we can write it as x comma y comma a comma b, x minus a root of x minus a whole square plus y minus b whole square. So after substitution and calculation, we got 5. The distance between two message points is 5. So similar to this, we can apply it to two signal vectors to find out the distance between the two signal vectors. So here two signals are Si and Sk. And the squared Euclidean distance, we can write this one as Si minus Sk whole square, which is equal to j is equal to 1 to n. So as per this equation, so we can write this is Si square. It is the squared length of the vector, which is equal to summation j is equal to 1 to n Si j square. So same equation you write for squared length of the vector. So j is equal to 1 to n Sij minus Skj whole square. Next, the energy of the input signal, which is Si of t. So we know this one as equation as 0 to t Si square of t dt. So we can write this one as squared length of the vector, because if you understand the relationship between signal energy and its vector, you can check here. See this energy, input energy signal Ei. Here you check in this equation. So we got for EI as summation j is equal to 1 to n Sij square, right? So same equation you have to apply here. So 0 to t Si square of t dt, we can write this one as Si square, squared length of the vector. Then you apply this formula. So what is Si of t? We can write it Si of t minus Sk of t whole square dt. Then the angle between the two vectors Si and Sk, we can find out using cos theta Ik is equal to Si transpose Sk divided by absolute value of or norm of a vector Xi and Sk. So this term it becomes equal to 0 when they are orthogonal or perpendicular to each other. When theta Ik it becomes 90 degree. So cos 90 degree it becomes 0. So you will get Si transpose into Sk is equal to 0 when two vectors Si and Sk are perpendicular to each other. So next, this Euclidean distance is what? Euclidean distance understood? This one Euclidean distance? Understood all of you? Next, the relationship between signal energy and its vector. This is the energy of the modulated signal, which is Si of t. This is the equation. We call this as equation number 1. Then you substitute the equation for Si of t in this equation. So you can write j is equal to 1 to n Sij pi j of t, and one more is k is equal to 1 to n Sik pi k of t dt. Then you take summation left hand side and integration right hand side and do the arrangement. Next, we know that this equation we already know from Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure. It is equal to 1 when j is equal to k, and it is not equal to k when both are perpendicular to each other. So the input energy of the input signal, we can write this one as summation j is equal to 1 to n and k is equal to 1 to n Sij Sik. Here if j is equal to k, then Ea is equal to this. So if you apply this formula in equation number 2, so further you can write this equation. When it is j is not equal to k, you will get 0, because the second one you can see that integration this becomes 0 when j is not equal to k. Next, for k is equal to j, so we will get Sij square. So here both summation represent the same index, so we can write this one as j is equal to 1 to n Sij square. So which is equal to, so we know that j is equal to 1 for this, we can write this one as j is equal to 1 to n Sj square is equal to squared length of the vector. So we can write Ea is equal to squared length of the vector, where squared length of the vector is Ea is equal to Si transpose into Si. So here the signal energy is equal to the squared length of the signal vector. So understood this one? If you understood till this, so Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure, you will be able to understand. Understood? The linear relationship between signal energy and its vector, absolute or norm of vector, and Euclidean distance. You must understand. All of you understood this? Shall I proceed? Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure. All of you understood? Shall I proceed Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure? This is very simple. Yeah, okay. Then next we'll discuss about Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure. So the Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure can be used to find out the orthonormal basis functions, which is pi 1 of t, pi 2 of t, and pi n of t. So the task of transforming an incoming message mi is equal to m1, m2 up to mm into a modulated wave, which is Si of t. Maybe it can be divided into separate, discrete, and continuous time operations. And the justification for this separation lies in the Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure, so represents, which permits the representation of any set of m energy signals, which is Si of Si1, Si2 up to Sin as a linear combinations of n orthonormal basis functions. For n set of message signals, so we have n number of orthonormal basis functions. So the modulated signal, which can be represented as Si of t, which is equal to the multiplication between Si1 pi 1 of t plus Si2 pi 2 of t plus up to Sin pi n of t. So that will be given as input to your receiver. So it also is having a locally generated orthonormal basis function. So each one we call it as a correlator. This is one correlator, this is one correlator, this one correlator. So we have up to n number of correlators. So for we can write this equation, we already know the modulated signal. Next, where the coefficients of expansion, we can represent it as Sij. So where I is equal to 1 to m and j is equal to 1 to m. So we have already discussed this equation. Next, we know this equation we have already discussed. So not required. Next, here the set of m energy signals. So which is S1, S2, and Sm of t. Right. So there are m number of energy signals will be there. Right. So we can write the equation for the orthonormal basis function pi 1 of t. So we already know that S1 of t, which is equal to root E1 into pi 1 of t. Then what is this root E1? Root E1 is nothing but what it is when n is equal to 1, right? Here pi 1 or S1. Here j it is varying from 1 to n. Here also S1 up to S1 up to I is equal to m. It is varying, right? S1 up to, yeah. Next, root E1. So what is root E1? Root E1 it becomes S11. S11 is nothing but here I is equal to 1 and j is equal to n, where n is equal to 1. So then we can write this one as S1 of t is equal to root E1 pi 1 of t, where n, if n is equal to 1, then root E1 is nothing but S11 value, S11, where I is equal to 1 and j here n is equal to 1. Then the equation for coefficient S21 of t, why we need to consider this equation? Because phi 2 of t is nothing but g2 of t by root eg2. Eg2 is nothing but energy of the signal g2 of t, right? Then what is g2 of t is a new function I told, which is nearer to s2 of t compared to other signal components. So g2 of t, which is equal to s2 of t minus s21 pi 1 of t. So that is why we need to consider s21. So this is the coefficient of expansion, where I is equal to 2 and here j is equal to 1. So we can write I is equal to 2 means s2 of t, where here you can see this I is varying from 1 to m and j is varying from 1 to n. So similarly pi 1 of t, where j is varying from 1 to n, because here j is 1. So for the g2 of t, we can write this one as s2 of t minus s21 pi 1 of t. So next, the equation for orthonormal basis functions pi 2 of t, we can write this one as g2 of t divided by root eg2, energy of the signal g2 of t. So this is the equation for energy of the signal g2 of t. Next, the proof why it is equal to unity. Here pi 2 square of t I have considered. We can consider pi 1 square of t also. Pi 1, to prove that pi 2 of t has unit, pi 1 of t also has unit energy. Next, to prove that pi 1 of t and pi 2 of t, when it is perpendicular to each other, so then we will get 0. So already we have discussed this one. We need to consider the two signal here, two carrier signal or two orthonormal basis function we need to consider here. So we know the equation for pi 1 of t and pi 2 of t. You just substitute and write the, so you can take out root e1 and eg2 outside, and you represent or you call this one as equation number 2. Next, we know the equation for g2 of t. You just substitute here in equation number 2. Next, you do the multiplication. So we'll get 0 to t s1 of t s2 of t dt. Next, again you multiply with the second term. So we'll get this. So you call this one as equation number 3. Next, putting for S21 in the above equation, S21 is nothing but coefficient of expansion, coefficients of expansion. So we can write this one as 0 to t s2 of t and 1, where I is equal to 2 and j is equal to 1. So pi 1 of t, the same thing you continue. So you call this one as equation number 4. So in the equation number 4, you can observe the second term. So there is a product of two terms, which is s1 of t and s2 of t. So both symbols cannot present at the same time. Hence s1 of t into s2 of t, it becomes equal to 0. So this becomes 0. So this is the generalized equation for orthonormal basis function pi I of t. Sorry. So next term, and generalized equation for gi of t. Here for I is equal to 1, it becomes pi 1 of t is equal to g1 of t divided by root EG1. G1 of t is nothing but it is we can write this one as S1 of t also. In the generalized equation, you can observe if I is equal to 1 you substitute, this becomes G1 of t is equal to S1 of t minus summation j is equal to 1 to where I is equal to 1 means 1 minus 1, it becomes equal to 0. So j is equal to 1 to 0 it becomes. So I here it is equal to 1. So because this term j is 1 to 0, it I because I is equal to 1 here, it becomes 0. So here we can write g1 of t is equal to s1 of t. So here in place of g1 of t, we can write it as s1 of t. And next for g2 of t, if I is equal to 2, then here j varies from 1 to 2 minus 1 is 1. So j it becomes equal to 1. So we can substitute this one, then we will get S21 pi 1 of t. This is the coefficient of expansion where j is varies from 1 to I minus 1. So all of you understood this Gram-Schmidt optimization procedure? All of you understood Gram-Schmidt optimization procedure? Okay. Next. So I told you to solve problems. All of you have solved that one? At least one problem? So all of you tried that one? Solve that problem? All of you solved any one problem? So last class we have discussed one problem on Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure. So we have understood this one, how to do it, how to find out the orthonormal basis functions like pi 1 of t, pi 2 of t, and pi 3 of t. All of you have solved. So the 2-3 problems actually yeah, last class I have shown you people. So any one problem all of you have solved. Any one problem at least you have tried. So last class I have shown some problems. So what you need to do is at least one problem you try to solve it. In exam you cannot say that the same problem you will get. So you may get a different set of signals. So you should be able to solve it. So any doubts? All of you have understood this problem? How to find out pi 1 of t, pi 2 and pi 3 of t? So that next class, so I will start fifth module. Intersymbol interference, ISI I will start. In that duobinary signaling is there, that is similar to whatever we have discussed in DPSK, differential phase shift keying. So that similar concept you will get there also in duobinary signaling. So it is very simple. That is also very simple module. So you can study it. So next class I will start fifth module, last module, which is a last module. If you have any doubts, so you can ask me. And if you have understood this problem, so it's okay. If you have not understood, I will explain once again. Still time is there. If you have understood, then I am not going to explain this problem again. If you have not entered your ASN number, write your ASN number in the chat box. If you have not entered. So all of you have understood this problem, how to solve it? All of you have solved, but three problems I had shown last class. So at least one problem you try to solve it. Try to find out at least pi 1 of t and pi 2 of t. Two orthonormal basis functions, that is sufficient. So pi 3 of t, whatever the steps you will follow for pi 2 of t is the same steps you need to follow. So if you have, at least if you have found for pi 1 of t and pi 2 of t, it is sufficient. So try to solve today at least one problem you solve using Gram-Smith optimization procedure. Whatever I discussed here, so in the same way you need to solve it. Same way. The concept is same. Whether I should explain or you have understood this problem. If I want to explain, I will explain, no problem. Okay. So here consider the signals. So they are given four set of signals, S1, S2, S3 and S4 of t. As per Gram-Smith orthogonalization procedure, to find an orthonormal basis functions for these set of signals, which is S1, S2 and S3 and S4 of t. So all these signals, all these signals should be linearly independent to each other. So first we will check S1 and S2. It is S1 and S2, S3 and S4 of t. We'll check here whether any signal is depending on any other signals. So here you can observe this fourth signal, which is S4 of t, which is equal to S1 plus S3 of t, S1 of t plus S3 of t. So this means all four signals are not linearly independent, because this S4 of t, it is depending on S1 of t and S3 of t. So now step 1 you need to follow to obtain pi 1 of t. So first you need to write the energy of the signal S1 of t. So we can write this one as E1 to E1 is equal to 0 to t by 3 S1 square of t dt. Here you can check the signal S1 of t which is 1 for the duration 0 to t by 3. For 0 to t by 3 it is 1. So here 1 is substitute, so we will get t by 3. Next, pi 1 of t, which is equal to s1 of t by root e1. So e1 will get t by 3. So further, after solving this, we will get root pi 1 of t, which is equal to root 3 by t for duration 0 to t by 3, right? Next, pi 2 of t. So pi 2 of t equation, we already know this equation for pi 2 of t from Gram-Schmidt organization procedure, which is equal to g2 of t by root eg2, right? So here g2 of t is nothing but s2 of t minus s21 pi 1 of t. So s2 of t signal I have written here. So s2 of t is 1 for the duration 0 to 2t by 3. And s21 pi 1 of t, we need to check s21 pi 1 of t. First s21 you write this equation and substitute s2 of t and pi 1 of t, pi 1 of t which is equal to root 3 by t for duration 0 to t by 3, and s2 of t which is equal to 1 for the duration 0 to t by 3. So after substitution and multiplication and integrating it, so you will get root t by 3, right? So then s21 pi 1 of t, you do the multiplication for the duration 0 to t by 3. So you will get 1, right? So this is the waveform you will get for s21 pi 1 of t. Next, g2 of t is new function, which is the difference between s2 of t and s21 pi 1 of t. So here for 0 to t by 3, 1 minus 1, 0. Next, from t by 3 to 2t by 3, 1 minus 0, 1. Next, t greater than 2t by 3, 0 you will get. Greater than 2t by 3. Three conditions you need to write. Right? Next, this is the energy of G2 of t. So from t by 3 to 2t by 3, G2 of t, it becomes equal to 1 from t by 3 to 2t by 3. So we can write this one as equal to t by 3. So pi 2 of this equation already we know that. You just substitute the value of G2 of t and energy of the signal G2 of t, which is G2, for the duration t by 3 to 2t by 3. So you will get 1 by root t by 3. So after solving it, you will get root 3 by t for this duration. So finally, so we can obtain pi 3 of t. So pi 3 of t, to find out the pi 3 of t, we must know the equation for G3 of t. So generalized equation you can write. We can use the generalized equation to write this equation for G3 of t. So which becomes S3 of t minus S31 pi 1 of t minus S32 pi 2 of t minus S31, which is equal to S3 of t minus S32 pi 2 of t. So here S31 pi 1 of t we need to check. Why it is equal to 0? Because S31 it is coefficients of expansion. So we can write the equation for S31 as 0 to t S3 of t into pi 1 of t dt, because it is 0 because there is no overlap between S3 of t and pi 1 of t. So we will check this one. So this is S3 of t, this is the waveform for S3 of t, and pi 1 of t is this one. For 0 to t by 3 it is root 3 by t. So it is not overlapping with this signal, because from 0 to t by 3 this is 0, but pi 1 of t it has root 3 by t. Because it is not overlapping with each other, we can straightway we can write it as 0. That is why we can write this S31 as 0. So it becomes, because S31 is 0, So S31 pi 1 of t, it becomes 0. So G3 of t, it becomes equal to S3 of t minus S32 pi 2. So similar way, whatever we have computed for pi 2 of t, in the same way you write the generalized equation, because it is here j is equal to 3, here here n is equal to 3. So because j varies from 1 to n, here pi 3 of t is nothing but here n is equal to 3. If you substitute, you will get this equation. After substituting the equation for S3 j, where j is equal to 1 to 2, you substitute it and solve it, you will get for S32 root t by 3, and S32 pi 2 of t from t by 3 to 2t by 3, you will get 1. So that's all. You go through it, you will understand. If you have not understood, let me know it. Okay. So any one problem you should try to solve. Last class I have shown 3 different problems. At least any one problem, try to solve it. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. If you have not understood anything, you can ask. But when you are going to solve the problem, you must understand the duration, symbol duration, where it is 1 and where it is 0, and which is overlapping and which is not overlapping. So that one you should take care. Otherwise, you will do mistakes there. See, syllabus for first internals is first and third module as per VTU syllabus. First module we have discussed Hilbert transform, and in the third module digital modulation techniques. First and third module. You must remember first and third module. So 30 questions will be there. MCQ, multiple choice questions type. So 1 hour time will be given. Within that all the 30 questions you must attend. So we are going to conduct the test using Moodle. So already you may be knowing how to use the Moodle. Okay. Any doubts? So day after tomorrow I have class. I will start fifth module. So if you have not entered your ESC number, you can enter it now. If you have entered, okay. If you have not entered, enter it. So I will share my notes today. Now itself I will share my notes, detection and estimation. So all of you just go through it. I think I have shared. I think last class I have shared. Wait, all of you have gone through it. Last class I have shared using Edmodo. Okay then.
Sir, can you do revision the next class, sir, for the internals?
Which one?
Like
Which one you want?
module 1 and 2, like basic things, like important topics and all.
Digital modulation techniques.
Yes, sir.
Sir, 1 and 3.
Sorry, 1 and 3. Yeah.
Okay. So I will go through briefly, not in depth. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you.